Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Prosperous Growth Trends, where we talk about all things autoimmune. And not only that, how to prosper despite being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. Listen, I am so excited. Today, during our new series that I told you about, Real People, Real Stories, we have an exciting story for you today. And we have JoAnn here. JoAnn, I am so glad you are here because JoAnn's story is going to be a little bit different once again than the others you have heard. We're going to discuss one of the five diagnoses of myositis. And if you don't know what those are, go back and review some of the other videos. But JoAnn, I received a call a couple of months from you. I believe it was a text. No, it was a text that said, "Hey, I need to talk to you."
hmm
Can you tell me why you called and also tell me what you wanted to know?
So I heard about your illness, first of all, through my sister. And then you started for your videos, and I subscribed to your channel. So I received a notification. One night, it was late, and I clicked on it, and I started listening to it. Something triggered in my mind, my childhood illness. You talked about myositis.
Yes.
And when you mentioned myositis, the light bulb just went off. And I had a childhood disease that had the word myositis in it. I got out of the bed. I went into my bin with all of my history, with all of my information, and I grabbed out my medical history because, of course, once you have kids, you want to get all your medical history. And I knew that I had a childhood hospitalization when I was 8.5 years old. And once I grabbed that out, I started reading it, and I was listening to after I had listened to your podcast, and I had a illness as a child called dermatomyositis. And instantly everything in me just welled up. And I was like, I need to call Debbie. I need to call you. And I text you that night to say, hey, we need to talk. And that's how it began.
Wow. Listen, I heard so many good things there. First of all, I'm just impressed that you had the documentation to make reference to. That's huge. So, note to everyone listening, don't throw away any medical records. And the fact that it triggered that you knew myositis, but you knew that dermatomyositis and juvenile dermatomyositis is what you.
So the trigger behind that was, as a young adult growing up, going back and forth to the doctor for different issues throughout my life, they would always ask me if I was ever hospitalized for anything. I would always say that I was hospitalized when I was 8. And I could never remember the name of what I had. Some of the symptoms that I had as a child. Now, mind you, I was a very energetic, very active child when I was that age, around a bunch of relatives all the time. But my mom and dad would notice when I would come home from school, I would go in my room and I would sleep a lot in the evening. I would just go to sleep. I wake up, have dinner, and I get tired and I go back to sleep. The other symptom that I had was, I think my skin started to have rashes in different places, and also on the knuckles of my hands there were these little nodules. I actually have one on my hand.
Wow.
I don't know if
I'm gonna have to put that right there, right
there's
there, so the
actually a
viewers can see it.
nodule on my finger, that is still there. some of the things that I've been going through over the last couple of years, I'm trying to see if this ties in to what I had as a kid. Because my mom just happened to work at a medical center, and she took me to the medical center, and she had me, you know, evaluated and everything. And they started to really look into what was going on with me because it was rare. It wasn't something that they saw on the norm. Um, as I read through the history, they would test my strength. You know, they would have me doing squats and things like that. They would test the strength of my arms, my hands, all of that. And I was pretty weak. I remember being in the hospital, I don't know, up to a little over a week, up to 2 weeks in the hospital.
Okay, you don't
It was a little red pill.
red pill.
And I think I had some physical therapy. One kind of little funny thing, there was a lot of things that I couldn't do that the rest of my cousins could do. Like I couldn't ride my bike for a long time. There were things, I don't remember quite all of them, but there were things that I could not do as a child. And then I remember the surgery because I had a biopsy under this arm, and I have a scar on the outside of this arm where I had an actual surgery. Don't remember quite all the details, but it's this arm. Of course, I'm older now, some 50 years later, and I have a little fat tissue that reminds me that I have that there. So I never connected with what your illness was until I actually heard you say myositis. So
we prosper here. That's what we do. We prosper here. One of the things that when you first came to me, the fact, well, there are two outcomes. Let me talk about the first one.
okay.
The process of diagnosing it is still the same.
Yeah.
Here we are, some 50, 60. My mom had it later, and there's not a lot of research still behind it. There's some, going to mention that, but the process of diagnosing it is still the same. Even now, when I go to the doctors, the same, they're testing, they're making sure the strength.
Yes.
I'm lifting my legs,
Did all of that.
all of that. And to hear you say that, and I thought, wow, it's still the same. It's still rare. My medical doctor hadn't heard about it. I mean, so when you were mentioning, saying, hey, I can't pronounce it, or I know I had a surgery, even if you knew the name, they probably would have said, I'm not familiar with that. Because it is.
And they look at you like, do you know what you're talking? I'm a doctor. You telling me you had something, I don't know what it is. I'm going to go do your research or talk to me a little bit more about that. But that has triggered me to go back to a previous thing situation that I was dealing with my kidneys. I had these strange kidney levels, and I actually pay attention to what's on my chart. And I saw on there something about chronic kidney disease. My dad had it. My mom has it. And I was like, okay, is this hereditary? And is that hereditary? So, of course, me doing what I do best, I have insurance. I reached out to a relative of mine who could do some research on finding me I wanted a top kidney doctor. And I said, I need you to find me a kidney doctor that I can go to. And I happened to get one down at the Cleveland Clinic who was the chief or top kidney doctor.
It pays to know people.
And so I said, listen, I need to come. I need to find out what these numbers mean. Am I sick? Why do I have this? Because what happened was my doctor, my primary care doctor, put me on a low dose of lisinopril, which she told me that it was for blood pressure. But I didn't realize at the time that blood pressure and kidney has some kind of connection. So later I'm reading through my chart and I'm like, CKD, what is that? You know, and when did you ever tell me that I had this? And she never told me that. So I'm like, somebody need to tell me what's going on. But my kidney levels were kind of fluctuating throughout. So when I went to the Cleveland Clinic, she basically told me, she did a whole workup. I said, I need to find out what's going on in my body. She did a complete work. She said there's nothing. She said there might have been a little cyst that was like not anything that was serious that might have caused my levels to go up and down. Then share that. I'm going to share that somewhere in my chart at some point, maybe when I go see my primary care doctor again.
So when you had the kidney workup, was that prior to your memory with the myositis or
Yes. It was prior to my memory.
Because there's a direct correlation between elevated kidney and liver levels and myositis. That's one of the main indicators of diagnosis.
Okay.
So the fact that you're so thorough, I wish we could be as thorough as JoAnn. JoAnn is so thorough. But yes, I'm glad, even without the myositis memory, you were already checking on something.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I would definitely keep my eye on that because that's how they said first found out that something was wrong. And in most individuals, your kidney levels are elevated, not slightly, but like what they're elevated.
Yeah.
And your liver as
so
well.
they kind of go up and down. I think I drink enough water. I'm very active now. I work out, things like that. But there is access to me to get to that doctor through the My Chart where you can send a message. And so once I just kind of get that message together, put it together, I'm going to send it to her and let her and tell her I need her to go back and relook and see. And even the fact that I hadn't paid any attention to my knuckles, and I see this little thing there, and I'm like, I don't know if it's been there or if it came back just because of everything that's going on. But I think it's just important for people to pay attention to what's in their chart.
Yes.
And be very thorough when they go to their doctors. Just me connecting back with your situation has really brought it to light, so now I pay attention to my own kids, what's going on with their health. So if there's anything that's going on with me or their dad, hey, you gotta be mindful of that. Thank God one of my son's wives is a doctor, so hey.
That's huge. To have it in a family, that is huge. But one of the things I've heard you say is being your own advocate
You
is
have to be.
so important.
Yeah.
And doctors, you have to be in partnership with them.
Yeah.
In all of your physicians because they don't know all the answers. They're specialists and unless they're a general practitioner, but still it's just surface level. But I've learned that you have to fight. You have to do research and not just Dr. Google.
Yeah.
You have to do your own research, and it sounds like you have done that in a way that most people have not. I mean, being able to have access to different kidney specialists and things like that is very huge.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was impressed with, JoAnn, when you contacted me, that you had a strong desire to know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't. What would you say to people who are scared to find out they have maybe symptoms or they've heard something and they say, hey, that sounds familiar, but they don't want to look into it because they're really nervous?
What I would say, again, we mentioned it early, you have to be your own advocate. I would just tell people, don't sit on anything. You have people that are afraid to go to the doctor because they don't have medical insurance. You got, okay, so you can't pay a bill. I had a situation happen to my son, and he was an adult at this time. His doctor bills came back like crazy, and he was no longer under my insurance. However, you look at your bill and it says there's financial assistance.
Say that one more time because people don't know that. I knew that. But
look at your medical bills.
Yes.
And somewhere on your medical statement, it says that for financial assistance, contact. And you contact that number and you give them all the specifics, everything pertaining to what your situation is. My son's bills came back pretty much taken care of. Somebody can tell you is no.
Yes.
But I would not put my health on the line for the sake of a bill.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So you hear that? That is so important because we want to make sure not only do we give valuable information, such as what JoAnn has given us today, but also that we lead with an action plan. JoAnn told us that, first of all, we need to be an advocate. Don't let any barriers stop you from getting health care. Ask the right questions. Sometimes we don't even know. I know I don't even know the right questions. And when I leave, I'm thinking, oh, I should have said this. But it's never too late. You can always go back. Most importantly, know your numbers, know your health, be able to keep information. And I'm just so glad that, we like to end our series with love, life, and all things beautiful. But this has been a beautiful conversation with you today. I was excited to hear it, just to see, what happens when you're jolted, your memory is jolted from someone doing a video, and then be able to have access to the documentation and to leave us with all the nuggets you did about being an advocate for your health, and then most importantly with dermatomyositis, that now you have it on your radar and that you can alert your doctors. And I have one final question for you, and I want you to just leave us with whatever you like to leave us with.
Um, First of all, as I mentioned, be your own advocate. Your health is so important. You need to be in tune to what's going on in your body. If something that doesn't feel right, get your yearly exams, physicals, all of that. And the one thing that I do want to say, that if your doctor does not have a great bedside manner, look for someone else who does.
That's a good takeaway, everyone. I'm going to take that advice as well. But that's a huge takeaway. And to even thank your doctors when they are doing a good job. That is huge. Listen, Prosperous, there's so many takeaways with this interview with JoAnn. Remember, this real people, real stories. You heard it from her today. Bye bye. Talk to you later.
Bye.